And we are recording. Everybody, welcome. This is Friday Strategy Calls. Best behavior, everybody. And Happy New Year, if we haven't said Happy New Year to you so far. So the strategy call, if you're watching the recording, are our Friday calls, 8 a.m. in Hanoi, and whatever time zone that is for you around the world. So for January, what we're going to talk about, guys, is online marketing. And I know last year we needed to flip it up a little bit, didn't we? And start moving our message and our voice online a lot. And for some people, that's easy. And for other people, it's a little bit more challenging. And I find it challenging, actually, because I do so much of my work face to face in the cafe. And to all of a sudden have to flip that and take that, put this plastic device in between, you can actually lose a lot of your personality. And so learning how to actually market to the right people and use the right kind of offer to market to those people. That's what I've been really doing doing a lot of work with. And so I thought that we could use all of January to talk about, we've got Kayla coming in. We could talk about all of January. We can talk in January all about marketing online. So, hey Kayla, how are you? Glad you could join us. So what I'm going to do now is pop up the slide because I'm really conscious of people's time this morning. I'm going to keep my eye on if there's anybody else popping in. I don't know if you guys can see. Can you see the participant list as well if there's people waiting? No? Okay, I'll just move that one over there. I'm going to share my screen. I don't know about you guys, but Hanoi is freezing at the moment. Zosh, is it cold where you are? Hong Kong?
So cold, 6 degrees today.
Oh, wow, I think you beat us.
Yeah, well, it sort of warms up during the day, but it's definitely nippy for us, and the houses are freezing because we don't have enough rugs and everything's tiled floors.
Yeah. Okay, can we see that? Lovely. I just have to try to find this participant screen too in case somebody jumps in. We don't want to lock out Victoria. That'll be funny. Okay, got it. So guys, what we want to talk about is finding your niche or however you want to say it, your itch. So finding your niche and what the secret formula is. Now, I'm just going to go through 4 steps today. There's so much in marketing online. There's absolutely so much. So I don't want you even to think about even using or thinking about using the word overwhelm. It doesn't exist in here. So we don't want to think about it. We just want to take whatever the project is, and we want to chunk it down into little parts, yeah? So what we want to talk about first is really at the very beginning. A lot of the time what people do is they dive into branding. They dive into finding the theme of their website and building the website first and all of that. And so sometimes if you don't write up the content first and you're sitting in front of the template and you're just trying to type into the WordPress template or whatever platform you're using, you get lost because you start to work around the theme and your voice and your message changes. So what you really have to do is sit down and write everything first. You either write it on the old school pen and paper that I love, or you can sit with your notes or your iPad and whatever, and just type it in there, type your message in there. I'm being stared at by 2 dogs. So just, I'm feeling eyeballs on my back. And so just type it out first. That's what's really important. And then what you want to do is then put it into whatever template, whatever platform you're using. And I'll go through everything that I'm doing today. This strategy sessions for all of January when we're doing marketing, we're not talking about using a specific platform, okay? I'll let you know what platform I'm using, but I don't want to market a platform. I want you to find the platform that works for you. I know Victoria and a large group of people in the team are using GrooveFunnels and it works beautifully. It's a really good price point for people to enter into. And there's a lot of functionality in there. So I've played with quite a few different platforms and I'll let you know what I'm working on later on. But today is all about working on a formula and a strategy. And that's what Friday classes are about. So type in any notes. I'll keep my eye. If any if you just want to ask a question, just pop in and ask. Yeah, I'd rather it be interactive than in a classroom environment. So let's go to the next slide. So this is what we're going to cover today. So we just want to go through 4 questions to attract your dream customers to you. So this is really at the very beginning stage of going through your process. Yeah. And we talk a lot about finding your avatar. Who is the right person for you? Forget about whatever the jargon is. Yeah. You just want to find the right customer. So the one that makes you jump out of bed in the morning to make you want to work with them. And you also want to, in this process, you want to repel the ones that don't excite you. And that sounds really harsh, but if you think about it, this is your company, it's your business. Why do you want to attract people that don't excite you? Why do you want to attract people to you that you really don't want to work with? So if you want to just take screenshots, grab a screenshot. There's, I think, 5 slides altogether. I'll share this with you as well. I love these 2 faces here. So think about the people that really excite you. Yeah. And then think about the kind of people that don't excite you. So what we want to do is write an offer that really attracts the right people. So let's go to the next slide. So that's really what we're covering today. So here's the secret formula, guys. So who is it that you really want to attract? Where are they at? Where do they congregate? If you think of the word congregate, it's like a church, isn't it? So where do these people congregate? Where do they gather? And they gather in really small corners on the internet, lurking. And so we need to find those people where they're lurking. And next is the bait. And the bait is a really hard word, but it's a hook. How do we hook them with our advertisement? And then the result, this is really the most important thing. A lot of the time when people start to shift online, they start talking about what the product is. Yeah, maybe like a skincare product, like a cream, or it's a weight loss product. So we don't want to talk about the product. We want to talk about what the result is that the customer will receive, yeah, through the product. So if you're out there talking just about the product, it's not going to sell, it's not going to resonate, it's not going to land with your audience. Yeah. So if you're talking about Serenity is the most incredible oil to help you sleep, you're talking about the actual product. What you want to talk about is the result, the benefit that the customer will get. Do you have trouble sleeping at night? When was the last time you had a great night's sleep? Stick around. I've got something for you that may help you. Yeah. So that's a hook. Yeah. So this is what
sorry, Pete, to interrupt, but I think that's a really good reminder, because
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're so passionate about the products, and then we've got the products that have given us results ourselves. So then we often do it that way. I mean, I know you're reminding me that I generally it'll be something, and I'll talk about the product first and then the result afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's a really good point.
It's our energy level, isn't it? Sometimes we need to wind our energy level back. And Zosh, you and I, we both have number 1 as positivity in our strengths, and that can just fire hose people.
Yeah.
And we have to learn how to pull that back, our enthusiasm, and make sure our message lands with these people. And if we're going to go through all the effort of building a website and spending money on some kind of platform to attract people, you don't want to have nobody. You don't want crickets. You don't want that little cricket noise where no one is coming to you. So you want to.
I think also it's a mindset shift where I'm often about getting the energy out, and I'm, telling people, and I think a little part of it is convincing them that what I do and what I have is going to work for them. And one of my clients said to me last week, because I was talking about, someone, and he said, you give away too much free information. So he said, it's too readily available, so people don't take you as seriously. If you sit back and you reel in a little bit more and make people pay for the information that you're offering, they actually will value it more. He said, even though I know where you're coming from because you want to give as much, but he said, people don't think like that. They are, well, if you're a specialist, then you want hold back a little bit. Don't give it all away for nothing.
It's so true. When you're so passionate about it, you just want to help people. And that's where your mindset is, isn't it, Zosh? Like you just want to help people. And and the thing is that people will pay anything to get the benefit. If they have a pain, they will actually pay for that result. So, but if you are giving too much away, then it's free information, then they don't see you as the expert. So, and it's not about comparison. It's not comparing yourself with anybody else. It's just finding your voice. So let's jump into the next slide. I'll find out how to drive this. We're doing okay so far? Kayla, you're okay? Yep, good. So
yes, I was gonna add another thing that I find that I do too with putting lots of information out there for people is sometimes I bombard with information because it's like I'm so excited and hyped up about something, and I'll like make Instagram stories or post to something, and I think sometimes it's like so much information, like people need tidbits. And I'm like posting so much that they're just like tapping through because no one wants to sit there and watch me for 10 minutes like talk about my LLV or something unless they're looking for that. But I think sometimes I overload with the info too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes with mindset, like Zosh is saying about yourself, like understanding what your customer actually needs. And sitting there, and a big thing about health coaching is that you go through this whole health coaching course, and what you really learn is you learn to be a really good listener, because your customers really know what they need, and it's just allowing them space to talk, to find the answer themselves. And so through this process, we're really doing the same thing. So you want to narrow this section here is all about who. You really want to narrow your voice. And this killed me when I first heard it. I thought, you want to attract more people, but you want to narrow your focus. And that took me a really long time to understand, because when you're so wide, your message doesn't resonate with anybody. You're just fire hosing everybody, and it doesn't stick. So that, when you're scrolling through Instagram and your feed and you're scrolling through Facebook, then all of a sudden you stop. Do it today. Like have a look today, or Tracy, you're in bed soon, hopefully. After you finish that whiskey I see you drinking. So what you want to do is just check yourself where you actually stop and what hooked you. Yeah, something made you stop. Yeah, so just scroll through. Just do that as a bit of an activity. So what we want to do here is really focus on who. And if you don't know who your voice is going to, then you don't know actually what to write. Yeah, because then you're not writing to anybody. You want your message to resonate with one person that they say, you are talking directly to me. Like, she knows me, he knows me. Like, how does he know that about me? Yeah. So this one here, who? Question number 1. Remember, there's only 4 questions. So who is your dream client? Who is your dream customer? Take a screenshot if you want. And the exercise I want us to do sometime before we meet again next week is really create your avatar. I know we've done this a few times, but I actually went through and did this all again. And I'm building my new website at the moment. And I thought the best way for me to master this information is to teach it with you guys. So I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone by being here, but I'm learning and still evolving and trying new things. So who is your dream client? And you do this by creating your customer, your number 1 avatar, the number 1 person you want to attract. And you want to picture everything about them. So choose a name, whatever the name is, Mary, John, whatever, and write that name down at the top of the list. Then you need to list out everything about that person and how you're going to serve that person. And it may be about one thing. It may be about skincare. It may be about sleep. It may be about nutrition, digestion. It may be something completely different, relationship breakups or whatever. So just list out all the things about this person you want to serve. How can you help that person? And then once you've got all of that, that's going to take some time, and you may need to come back to it a couple of times. My avatar, I tell you, has evolved so much in the past 3 years, and it's because I'm honing my message. And you've really got to keep coming back to that all the time, because as you find your own voice and your own confidence, and everything in doTERRA is about confidence. That's the number 1 thing I've learned. These people that step on stage at the number 1 position, they're out the back warming themselves up, ready to step on stage. You know, you can turn on the confidence, and when you step off stage, you go back to being yourself again. You know, be a Beyonce. Zosh, hand up.
Yeah, I thought I'd hand up instead of interrupting you.
Beulah.
Interesting, I think, with the single avatar, because I think in health coaching, there are a few avatars.
Absolutely.
So I think not everyone, some people might have a bunch of different things going on.
Sure.
So often I find it difficult to sort of go narrow, but I think now what you just said, I thought there could be, yes, let's say I'm creating a short program on gut health. So maybe, you know, at the moment I'm addressing somebody who's had, you know, big Christmas or whatever, and then need a cleanse. So, you know, do you think that is there only ever a single avatar?
No, absolutely not. And I think you can have so for us, for example, we have a business avatar, and then we have our customer avatar. So to begin with, we've got two. And so when you start, if you start thinking of both to begin with, it's tricky because it may confuse your mind. So we really have customers, sharers, and builders here. So you can even have three. You can have three avatars: customers, sharers, builders. But let's just look at customers for a moment, because this is kind of where I'm looking at here. You may have an avatar for, you know, if we're looking at what do you want to serve about people, you may have a dream avatar in a certain demographic. So in an age demographic or in a geographical location. So maybe Asia is a little bit different to you know, North America, for example. I think for this exercise, it's really easy to think about one to begin with, and then you could actually grow it into other things, because you may wear, and you do, so many different hats. So you are now, Zosh, an expert at homeschooling. So you could do a whole
I don't think so.
funnel. You could do an avatar of like how to attract mums to you who want to learn about homeschooling at home. So that could be one avatar. You could be looking for, remember, the avatar is your dream client. And Zosh, so you are a full-time mum, you're a full-time wife, you're a full-time health and fitness expert. What other hats do you wear?
I could think of myself as equestrian too.
Absolutely. So all these incredible hats that you have to wear, and all of us do that. And so you could actually have a dream client for each of those hats that you wear.
Yes, so, but I think just because often I think it's just so many, then there's too many hats, right? So you've got to go, I'm going to work on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to specialize in this.
Yeah.
Because I want to help everybody, but then you help nobody.
You help nobody. Well, you do.
So let's pull it right in.
Business is quite scattered, and it's quite difficult to keep a hold on all the hats.
Yep.
You know, if I had a team of people, amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one thing that resonated with me when I first heard it years ago was, when you look in the mirror, your dream client is you 3 or 5 years before. Yeah. Because your journey, you know so well, and you know how to look after that girl, you know how to look after that guy. So when I heard that, and it was on with Deb Erickson, and Deb Erickson does a fantastic course on marketing online. And Victoria and I always talk about, you know, and Tracy, you're in there at the moment with the ICANN Institute. Oh, speak of the devil, she's here. Say her name and she pops in. Good morning to you, Victoria. Good evening. She's going to sit in the background. And so with Deb Erickson, she does this online marketing course about, you know, finding your voice and finding your avatar. But when she said that your ideal avatar is staring directly at you in the mirror, and possibly it's you from 3 or 5 years before, if you can talk directly to that person and guide that person really becomes your perfect avatar. Yeah. So just think about that one. So in this exercise here, Google different images. So once you've worked out all of the different characteristics of this person and all of the ways that you want to serve this person, then Google some images on, like, put that name in. John, cannot sleep, works 9 to 5, commutes 1 hour each way to work, comes back, has a little John Pity party at night time by himself because he doesn't like his life. 90% of the time, he's away from his family. And the 10% of his life that he loves is when he's with his family. So that for me is, a pretty good avatar that I seem to attract. People that just can't sleep. So through this process here, you're thinking about who. And the reason this is so important is because you can't write some hook and message and a benefit to people if you don't know who you're talking to. Yeah. So at the bottom here, I just put this line. It's amazing how your perspective changes when you have a physical photo of that person. And I print it out and I stick that photo onto my vision board. And so then you know who you're talking to, you know who your customer is. Yeah. So that's the who. Don't jump over the who. The who is really one of the most important steps. And then we flick into the where. The where part is really exciting. So you think about congregation. We spoke about that at the beginning of this call. So congregation is a really big word. And we're not just talking about church, but we can, because it's a wonderful place to find people congregating and supporting in a community. So where can you find your dream customer? That's what we're talking about here. And knowing what they do from the minute they wake up to the time that they go to sleep really allows you to write a message for that person. So you really want to get into that person's brain, get into their life cycle, know exactly where they're hanging out. So which Facebook groups are they in? Which forums do they hang out in? Where do they go? Where do they shop? Which influencers do they follow on Instagram and Facebook? What podcasts do they listen to? We're going deep because we're playing in the same kind of industry here. Don't get caught up with comparisons. You don't want to compare the offer or your platform or your website design with what other people are doing, what influencers are doing, because then you get stuck and you get paralyzed and you won't do anything. So we're not talking about comparison. We're just talking about where your ideal customer is hanging out. Yeah. What emails do they subscribe to and what YouTube channels do they watch? You don't need to spend too much time here, but if you know where they hang out, you also then know where to go to get them. Yeah. You don't want to be fishing in a river if you want to fish for salmon and there's no salmon in that river. Yeah. There's only carp. And so you want to make sure you're fishing for the right fish in the right river. So that's why in the beginning, our first slide has us fishing. So we move into the bait section. Does anyone have a question here on where? Is that cool for everybody? So you're really getting into the mindset of that person that you want to attract, your ideal customer, your ideal avatar. But if you don't know who they are, then you don't know where they're hanging out. Yeah. So next we're talking about what? And up in the top left-hand corner here, I've got here, your offer has to match what your dream customer wants. Yeah. So if that doesn't resonate with, if your message and your voice and your offer doesn't resonate with what they're looking for, they're going to keep scrolling past you. Yeah. So I mentioned that in the beginning of this call, just have a flick through your scroll today, your newsfeed, and see where you stop, because this is really what it's linked to. So your offer that you're offering to people, your bait, so your hook, your story and your offer, which we'll talk about in a second, it has to resonate with someone to make them stop on your newsfeed, to make it stand out. And it's not about the pretty design. Yeah, it's about the actual message that grabs them. So here we're talking about what your bait is, and the bait is the hook, and the hook may be what you advertise in Facebook or Google Ads. It's just a little snippet of information. So what the bait will use to attract them. So what bait do you have? And we talk about the what is the hook, then it's a story, and then you're offering somebody something. And next week, we're going to dive into this a lot more. This is a big, meaty part of this whole process, but I just wanted to plant this in your brain today. This is the third part of this secret formula. So the hook, the story, and the offer. So what are your dream clients currently getting? So this part here is, what are you hooking them with? And now the hook is generally not on your, if you think about your platform, so you may have a website, and then on your website, you may have a little section that your customers can click on that says, click on here to learn about my 5 smoothie recipes. Now that sounds pretty boring, but you may want to put something else in there. So click on this to learn about how to blah, blah, blah. So you want to hook them with one line or one little phrase. Now that message there too is what you use to put into Facebook ads, put into Google ads to hook them, to make them stop scrolling in your news feed. That's what's called a hook. You don't want to put your whole story there because there's too much. So when they click on learn more, when they click on register here, then they go into the landing page. Yeah, it pops open. That's your story. That's when you can tell a little bit more about your story. It's not the offer yet. Yeah, so you go through the story. That's where people get to know you and like you. The trust probably comes a little bit later, but know you and like you. And then at the bottom of that story, they click on an offer. Yeah. And that offer may be a webinar. It may be a free ebook. What you want to do is either sell something or get a lead. And the lead is getting their email address. So they will give you their email address if they think that what they're getting in return is worth the same value. So give me your email address and I will give you a free ebook on skincare or sleep or health coaching or Pilates. Yeah. So hook them first with something that's attracting them. Do you have trouble sleeping at night? Oh yeah. Click. I've hooked that person. When was the last time you slept well? Have you tried blah, blah, blah? This is my story. And I show them the story of my transition. It's a little bit bigger. And then you give them an offer. So let's look at the next line down here. So I start here with once. So once you know where your ideal customers are, so where they're hanging out, now you need the right hooks to grab their attention. So if they're hanging out in a certain Facebook group, you may want to get in there and just start talking. You don't want to advertise your products and you don't want to advertise what you are doing, but you want to start some conversations with people. Just some really authentic, genuine conversation. So if it's a mother's group, hey guys, is anybody else having this experience with blah, blah, blah? And then you just strike up some conversations in a really authentic way. So the hooks grab their attention just long enough to tell them a little piece of the story. And then they go into the story part. So the idea of the story is to build rapport with them. So you want to be really authentic through your storytelling process. The offer is the product or the thing that you've created for your ideal customer to give them the results that they desire. And remember, in the beginning of this call, we talked about not selling an actual product, but we talked about selling the benefit that they will get. Yeah. Do we want to talk about that for a second? Any questions while I have a drink? Yeah. This is the meatiest part, and I don't want you to get stuck on this because next week we're going to really dive into this and we break it down into, let's look at the hook a lot more and what language do we use in the hook to grab their attention? How can we write a really good story? And how can we write an irresistible offer that really attracts the person that you're trying to attract? Yeah.
So I think what's interesting is, we get, I definitely in my feeds get so many things that pop up. I try and unsubscribe, but they still keep somehow coming back. But there's so many things where it catches, in the subject of the email, they've hooked you in, whatever it is. Try these 3 things or whatever. And what I generally find is, this is not even on Facebook, this is just coming through your normal feed. What I often find is you already know that they're going to sell something. Yeah. So that's like a given thing, that they're going to sell. And often it takes so much time before they get to the crux of what it is. It's like, you know what, I haven't got time. Yeah. And I don't want to be a pessimist, but it's like, I'm genuinely interested. I genuinely want your information. And I probably would click on that thing. But it takes so long to go through everything and too many words.
It's like when your kid comes to talk to you and it's like, and then, and you're like, just
get on with it.
Get to what actually happened. What do you want? So,
Yeah, exactly. I can hear it already. So I think, I think it's a very sad part of life where our time is very precious. And
absolutely,
so
yeah. Time and health, yeah. They're the
yeah,
two
it's
things
that
that we
thing
just
of,
can't buy.
that's right. And I think the hook needs to grab them enough without, going on, where then you suddenly say, buy serenity. That's what you need. And then they're like, oh, she's selling another thing. So I think that's a very important thing for me, is to not make it about the fact that the end product is going to be, you're going to buy something.
Yeah, I think you can get really overwhelmed in doTERRA land, especially this time of the year. There's so many products out there, and even more so at the moment because we can't meet face to face in most places around the world. So you know in your mindset when you click on something that there's going to be a sale, and are you their ideal customer? So a lot of the times when things come into your email like feed, whatever we call that these days, your email inbox. The subject line is the most important thing because it can capture your attention, and how you craft that is the hook. The hook is the subject line. So I know there's a lot of things that come into my, all about nutrition and things like that, motivation and mindset, that come into my email inbox. I subscribe to them at a certain point in my mindset, in my day, in my week, in my month. Somebody's coming in. Matcha chocolate, come on down. And so this one sounds tasty. And so at that point in my time, I subscribed to that that inbox. Now, I still leave it in a folder, and I may come back to it later, just depending on how I feel at that certain time. So your avatar will go through that same thing. So at some point in their life cycle, you are attracted to them. They find you attractive, and so you may go out of fashion. Sorry to say, but we may. And so keeping and updating your personal avatar is really, really important, but also updating your hooks and your stories and your offers really important too, because how much did your life change last year? Yeah. And so how much did your perfect avatar's life also change last year? So in January, if you're telling one story, and then in December, if you're telling the same story, you may not be resonating. You may not be landing with that person anymore because, wow, life changed so much. So what I do whenever I see and everybody different landing page come into my email, I go into it and then I look at how they do their landing page and I learn from it. Yeah. So now instead of me just being the customer, I want to be the student, and I want to actually see, okay, what's their message and what's their hook and what's their story, and how do they craft it? And if I click here, where does it take me as a customer? As a customer, where's my experience through the whole landing funnel? So go in there and be really what's the word? Be really adventurous and go in and see how they actually write their funnels now. Instead of just being a customer, learn from the actual funnel experience. Andrew Donovan does some great funnels. Simon Sinek does some great funnels. Mark Hyman, the doctor nutritionist, does some incredible funnels. Choose your favorite influencer, your favorite person that you follow, and go in and see how they do their funnel. Sure, there's an offer. You know that before you go in, but you're probably not going to buy it, but go through and learn through the whole process. Yeah. I just want to keep my eye on the clock, because I know we've got to have a loo break before we go into the into the nutrition webinar. So this section here, we're going to come back to next week and dive into this a little bit more. Yeah. So the what section, how to write a really attractive hook, how to write that story, which is a little bit more meaty, and then the offer that's really, really irresistible. And now the last slide is just talking about how we do this. So question 4. So what benefit do you want to give them? What do you want to show them through the hook and the story? So once you've hooked your dream customer, what results do you want to give them with your product? Yeah. All of us here sell the same product. Yeah. But I would guarantee that we all have a different subsection of customers. Yeah. So we've got quite a few different countries in here now. A couple of South American countries. We've got North America. We've got Hong Kong. We've got me. Have I missed anybody? Victoria's there. We've got Philippines with Ria. We've got China with Yanli. And so, hello, we've got the same product, but very different voices, yeah? And the voice is also very different. Even if we all lived in the same neighborhood and sold the same product, we could all have different customers because of your life experience. Yeah. People come to you because they know you and they like you and they trust you. That is the only reason they'll buy a product from you. Yeah. If not, they'll just go down the road and buy it from Tracy. Yeah. If they just wanted to buy the product. But people in doTERRA, they want to buy a community. And especially at the moment, what are we really missing out on? We're really missing out on being nourished by a community and family. And so they want to really feel a part of something and a movement. And so if we all lived together and we all sold the same product, they would still buy it from a different person in this group here because of your life history, because of your experience and your knowledge and the way that you talk to them. So the whole idea with a website is for people to find you and land on your website so that they can get to know you. And then they can get to like you through your about page and your story. So be really authentic, yeah, when you talk online. Be you. And then they learn to trust you and trust that you're going to give them the result. And this is the trust part here in the result. No one's going to give their email address if they don't like you, yeah? No one's going to give the email address if they feel a little bit icky that, I don't know, this is not really for me. So yes, build a beautiful website, but it's not super important. So your website won't give you money. It's just really passive. The way that you make money through your website is by this secret formula and having a landing page or an offer built into your website. Yeah, and today, do some research tonight or during the day today, if it's still your morning somewhere, or over the weekend, jump into your favorite influencers' websites and look at what their offers are, because that is the hook to click on that little register here button or learn more button that takes you into the platform where you build your offer. And we'll talk more about the offer next week. So the last slide here, guys, you're doing really well. The last slide is just summing everything up. So the secret formula we went through today is who is your dream customer? Spend most of your time there. Yeah, really craft who is that person, and honestly, keep coming back to it. Really keep coming back to it, because last year shifted so much with people's lives, with your own lives. And I think we really all grew up a lot last year as well. I know I did. Even at 50, I still grew up a lot last year. And so what you want to do is really craft who your ideal, who your dream customer is. Don't get stuck on all the jargon like avatars and things like that. Just who is your dream customer? Make it real. This is your business. Yeah, make it real. The second section we talked about was where. Where are they hanging out? Where are they congregating? Where are they lurking on the internet? You want to get into that group. And I kind of picture that group of like people in black hoodies. They used to hang out at the back of the classroom at school. You got to work out how to work your way into that group. Yeah, usually they're all smoking, so we don't want to do that. But you want to work out how to get into that group. That's kind of what I'm picturing. So, and you can't walk in there with, hey, I've got a shiny bottle of frankincense. It won't work. So you've got to be really authentic for that group. You've got to work out how to move into that group with a conversation to attract them to come to you. Yeah. So what is the bait on how to hook those people once you've found out where they're hanging out? A group of mums. How do you attract them with a certain offer? And the last thing we spoke about is how can you give them the results and the benefits that they're really looking for. So that's the last slide there. So guys, you can all unmute. We can have a bit of a chit chat. I hope you got something out of that.
Most definitely. Lots to think about.
It's something I didn't really keep my eye on the chat, but if there's any questions in there that you want to ask, just let me know. It's something that we really need to keep coming back to all the time. And we now know that we can't really sit knee to knee with people and do face-to-face classes like live, most of us. If you can, then please do. But this doesn't mean that your business halts. It actually means that we just shift the focus and we take it online. So we can teach Zoom classes online, great. But the step before that is that you've got to find people. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about today. We're not talking about the sampling stage. We're not talking about actually sitting and teaching people, because we can do that. We know how to do that. We're talking about attracting people to you. So how can you be in Northern America or the Philippines and attract someone in Germany? Yeah. Someone who doesn't know anything about you. That's what really we're talking about today. So someone who doesn't even know you, how can you stretch your circle of influence? Because your influence is not infinite. Yeah, there's a certain radius where your influence finishes. So how can we expand that through the power of marketing online? So Victoria, did you want to jump in and add anything? I can see you're burning.
Oh, I'm trying to manage all the power of healthy info coming in and get it out and listen to your great talk. But you just nailed it. And I think for some of you that might be just starting this journey, don't get overwhelmed, right? It is just like this really clear step, and kind of what Pete was going over tonight is kind of like probably the meatiest part, like you said.
Yeah.
But you can start so small, like get a landing page. You don't have to build out a 7-tab full-on website with a shopping experience and all of this. You really, really don't. Just like the process. I'm sure this is what you're going to be covering in this one here, because I always want to hear it again. But there's this kind of simple formula of, write a blog, post some bits on the Instagram and social media or wherever you're finding your people congregate, and send them to your blog, that sends them to the opt-in, capture their information, send out. It's a very clear circle.
Yeah.
And what Pete was kind of talking about tonight is like knowing who you're talking to, knowing where you're going to find them, knowing what your message is, what your offer is, and what their pain point is, and then addressing that. But you want to drive it somewhere, which is going to be what you're explaining over the next few weeks, I presume. And it's going to be getting the traffic and the types of traffic. But it sounds so. I can remember when I was first learning about all this stuff, maybe about 2 years ago, right? So I'm not even, like, it's still fairly new to me. I know there's probably people who are just experts. Pete, you've had websites for a long time because of your cafe and other businesses. But so if you're brand new at this, keep it simple. Like if you look at Pete's website, I put it on there. It's lovely. It's clean. It's clear. It's crisp. You know what's going on. You're not overwhelmed by too much, So I just think keep it simple.
Absolutely. And
not that hard.
It's so easy to get overwhelmed with comparison, yeah. And the biggest thing is like I wanted to really harp on today, find the right person. Like find the person you're talking to first. Don't go to the third, fourth, fifth stage, 10th stage, which is building the website, because you get so stuck there. You will spend a week on colors and branding and fonts.
For a year.
Honestly, your people don't care. That's not the benefit and the result that they're looking for. They want to sleep better. They want to have less pain in their life. Spend 99% of your time there.
Just a landing page is enough to start. You don't have to have the whole full-on website. You can always add to it later as you get better in time and
absolutely.
But just start. Yeah, I will tell you guys, one of the biggest mistakes I made, and I think I shared this the other day, was I was on social media for a couple of years thinking that I was online. I'm online, I have a Facebook account. No, I was putting out all of this messaging, all of this great content, just messaging every day, but I wasn't sending them anywhere. It was just going out into the ether and vaporizing. And I never sent them to a landing page and captured their detail and got into a way of making friends. So Pete, I'm so thrilled that you're on here. And one other thing I wanted to talk about that you brought up was the authenticity of, we could all live in the same house and have different customers. For 2021, and you've probably heard me say this over the last couple of weeks, I just was like, I'm going back to how I built, right? There's been all these shiny whistles this year. Whistles, bells and whistles, I don't know, shiny stuff coming, and try this. And I was sitting at the presidential summit going, how did I get here? How did I get here? Right? Like, I was so overwhelmed by all this stuff. And I said, I got here because I taught a class every Thursday morning. I taught a class every Thursday morning for 3 years, and I hit Blue Diamond. And you know what my classes were? They were my classes. They weren't me trying to be Elise Shedevy, or me trying to be Ange Peters, or me trying to do it read this script, which I'm telling you guys, those are great. Those are great guidelines. But you got to be you. If we're all doing robotic scripts, I taught a class this morning. I was back, right? I mean, I was like, that felt so good because it was my class. It was my PowerPoint that I made. It was my story. And I was just chatting and talking and sharing. And it was fantastic. And that's what Pete means about, your story and being you. We could all live in the same house. We could all have the same bottle of frankincense, but we all have a different personality and story and all of that stuff. And that is who people follow.
Absolutely.
So, and it's getting it onto your landing page or your website.
I can so see, Victoria, your house, there's 10 people in different rooms, because I imagine you've got 10 bedrooms and 10 rooms. And then every door has someone's name and someone's story. And then there's a whole line of customers outside, and they walk in and they read the story on the door, and they that's not for me. And they go to the next door, they read that story, and they go in, and it's Zosh. And then the next room they go in, another customer comes in and they read the story in that door, and it's Tracy's story. They go in there. Because that's your authentic story and your customer will resonate. You don't need to attract everybody because they've got a credit card and a heartbeat. You want to attract the right type of customers. And the very first slide we had was, how do we repel the customers we don't want? You can do that. This is your business. You want to work with the people that you want to get the results for, and who want to get the results, and that you enjoy being with and hanging out with. And there's the builders that we want to attract as well. But today we're talking about the customers. So learning how to attract the right customers and repel the ones that you don't really want. It sounds weird, but why build a business of people that you don't want to hang out with? Or why send out the wrong message and attract the wrong people that you don't want to hang out with? Send out the right message to the right people, to the people that you want to hang out with, because then you're going to love it. And through loving
and I would have to say, and
I'm
sure you're going to hit this in, if you didn't already, I'm sorry I came in late, but we had the power of healthy, and then I had some wrap up stuff. Once you kind of get this circle that I talked about, right, that Pete's going to teach us all how to make our perfect little circle, our authentic circle. Mine's not perfect, believe me. I should never say that word. The key, and this is again my 2021, I will do this, is consistency.
Yeah, sure. Just keep going.
It's going to be consistency. You've got it. That is more important than how pretty your site is, how great your ebook is, how well lit your webinar is. All these things that we worry about, like Pete said, that's not why they're there. They're there because you can fix one of their pain points, but they're not going to know about you if you're not out there.
Yeah.
So absolutely. That is the most important thing, is to be, messaging out with, not into the ether, capturing it on your landing page.
You're like, when you said that, Kayla went me, because it's like that, isn't it? You want to help people, but we're not helping people if the message doesn't land. It's got to land with the right person, and then you have to hold their hand and guide them into your room with that hook. So take the technology out of it and just treat it like a human relationship. So find the person, hold their hand, bring them in, and we'll talk more next week. We've got 1 minute before we need to dive into it, the nutrition course. So guys, thank you so much.
There's no Regan again.
Oh yes, absolutely. Guys, thank you. I'm going to share this slide with you all. I think I'll put it into the Telegram group so everyone can see it. And same time, same place next week. Thanks, everybody. Love you all.
Bye. Bye. Thank you, Pete.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. It was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.